Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI show. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story. And if you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And like I said, each week we bring you a local small business success story from one of the 32 chapters in the Triangle and one of the 9 chapters in the coastal region. We have many successful business owners. And our local small business success story this week is Kirstyn Yancy with TMS Digital. The Kirstyn is a member of RD18 Connections in Motions BNI chapter. They meet Thursdays at noon at Driftwood Cantina in Lafayette Village, if you're familiar with that. She is not only a visitor host, but she's a mentor coordinator and a consulting director for BNI chapters. She's an overachiever, a good friend, a huge helper. Kirstyn, good morning. Welcome to the show.
That would that's probably the best way to sum me up, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just a helper. You're all over the place. We'll get into being a member of the Clayton Chamber and all this stuff. But all right, so love talking about starting new businesses. And you come at it from a couple different ways. One is, so your dad started the company. Let me see if I get this right. Okay. Started the company in 1998 as a local business directory publication for Rocky Mount and Tarboro.
Yep.
And now you guys help businesses all over the country. You're not just located here you're in the Triangle, but you do business with a lot of people. Help them with websites, help them with SEO, search engine optimization, social media, small business marketing. There are 6 employees now on the website. There may be more that I didn't see on the website, but let's go back to 1998. You were, I'm going to say you're in like 5th grade, maybe. Am I close to that? Did I get it
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So your dad was starting this business. Were you aware of this at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so, first is so I always like to tell people, I'm lucky enough to have 2 dads, so it's actually my stepdad that owns the company.
Okay.
And of course, I call him my dad because he's been my dad since I was 15, so I was definitely not, aware of, Mr. Hayes in 1998. But I also was not aware of a phone book in
Okay.
1998
True
either,
that.
so
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Alright, so you came along in 2004,
Yes.
joined the company in 2004. How did that come about then? Let's start there.
Oh, so that was, kind of more of like a punishment from him. So, my mom and him had just got married about 3 months prior, and I had just moved up to North Carolina and was going through some of that, you know, well, you're not my dad phase and blah, 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 blah. Hadn't started high school yet. And it was a Saturday night, and he goes, "Hey, be ready by 7 a.m. on Monday." I was like, "Excuse me, it's still summer. I don't have to." And he's
Yeah.
like, "You're coming to work with me." I was like, "Oh, awesome. Okay. There's no way around this." And the first 2 weeks, I was in the server room here, just filing paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I still had to dress up, business
Yeah.
casual, even though I would go through the door and then sit in a room for 8 hours. And 2 weeks later, he said, "Hey, don't worry about dressing up on Monday." And I was like, "Oh, thank God, nobody sees me anyway." And he said, "No, because you'll be delivering phone books." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
If there's nothing that will break a 15-year-old girl faster than delivering phone books in a box truck with no AC out in Sampson and Duplin County,
Mhm.
I don't know what else will.
You weren't ready to meet the community and be out with the people?
Not at all. That was not a lot of fun. However, that is I tell people that is one of the first milestones as far as gaining work ethic.
Okay.
Was like, all right,
Yep.
that's how I yeah, that's how I earned my money
All right.
instead of just like, oh, you do chores around the house that are, just expected of you. Like I had to work for that paycheck.
And that was the summer. Did you
Yes.
do that through school as well?
Not the phone books, but I did assist with data entry and
Okay.
then like on, Christmas breaks and stuff like that. Be like, well, so I worked at Andy's Cheesesteaks and Cheeseburgers, which is now Highway 55. It will always be Andy's as
Good
far as I'm
place. Yep.
concerned.
Good burgers. Yep.
But I waitressed there, and then he would always say, if you want some extra cash, you can come to the office and do some more filing, that sort of thing. So I was always hungry for money.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go up there. And so anytime that it would permit during high school and then throughout college, same thing. Just like, yeah, give me money. Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
it.
So when did the connection with the company, when did something click with you that, hey, I kind of like this industry and I kind of know enough to want to be interested in learning more?
um, and it's okay. So Jeff, my dad, he and I, when I knew that he was more than just my stepdad, it was Father's Day, and this will all make sense. It'll all come together to answer your question. Um, was Father's Day of my senior year. And I realized that we had so much more in common and everything that he had done for me that had pissed me off or like made me cry or whatever, that dads do and stuff
Yeah.
like that was really for my betterment.
Mhm.
And I remember writing him this card and it made him cry and all that stuff. And he wouldn't let my mom read it. And it was a whole to do. Um, all that said, I've always come to him for advice. I've always come to him when I needed help with anything. So when I lived in Austin for a little bit, which we talked about on the last time that I
Yep.
was on this show, and I was recuperating from my knee accident, he employed me again doing data entry, but remotely. And then when I realized that I hated Austin and had already gotten married to Peyton and came back up here, he extended the olive branch and was like, I'll employ you while you get on your feet, yada, yada. And then it wasn't until then that I was like, oh my gosh, this is really amazing. So he's always been somebody I turned to that always wanted to help me. And it wasn't until this most recent time that would have been in 2015, and it all just came full circle. And wasn't until I was fully immersed in it in my late 20s. It's like, all right, now that we're doing this full digital evolution and I'm more hands-on with, client facing, and I can see how this is affecting the clients versus being stuck in a
Mm.
server room or just delivering phone books, that sort of thing. It was then that it made a connection with me because I'm actually seeing how it's affecting
Yeah.
business owners.
Do you remember what you were making an hour in 2004 sitting in that hot box truck? And were you make anybody mad if you say that and somebody will go, I
No,
listened to the
it's
show. I
actually
wasn't making more. I was making way less than you.
it's so funny. When we were moving from our first rental house here to the house that we now own, I actually found my check from when I was in high school. And I was like, oh my gosh. I took a picture of it. And I want to say, for my 2 weeks, I want to say it was like $250 or something like
Dang.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, I kind of feel like I was overpaid for the work that I put in.
Uh,
So,
so are you more technology or business development?
I'd say business development. However, I being in the role that I'm in, I do have to know enough to be dangerous.
Mhm.
Um, but being the um, well, again, client facing, I do the networking, the onboarding, all that good stuff. I do have to know about the service that we're providing. Um, and also during the onboarding process, one of the first things that I ask or I bring up is networking opportunities
Mhm.
because I believe in a holistic approach to building your business or building your brand. Because, of course, you have to invest in the digital age, but you also want to make sure that you're shaking hands and
Oh, yeah.
getting your name out there
Yeah.
more promptly. And also industry specific. There's some folks that it's even more important to be in the community on a regular basis
Yeah.
than somebody who can just like sit back and let the website do its thing.
Yeah. So there's a few of us watching today that, I would say have started a business without technology, and my first business was a, laundromat in 1997 in Florida, and we had the internet. I think was it MySpace was the
Mhm.
precursor to Fa okay. And wasn't on that, so no interest in that.
Yeah, yeah.
So with technology today, so let's say a couple folks listening and watching probably are getting ready to start a business or have just started a business maybe in the first year.
Mhm.
Where what role does technology play in this?
Oh, well, okay. So one of my friends, I won't use her. I'll call her Becky, just for
Okay.
anonymity's sake. Um, she called me about a month ago, told me that she was never wanted to work for another person again. I said, "Well, good for you,"
Yeah.
and sat down, asked me all the questions, wants to get the ball rolling way ahead of time, all this good stuff. And I asked her if she had registered with the Secretary of State. Said, "I'm doing that today." And I said, "Okay, do you have a Facebook page? Do you have an Instagram page? Do you have all of the platforms?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, I actually don't feel comfortable getting you started on a website right now until you have a little more traction. I want you to have a few people that actually know about you before in making a great investment. Because I want you to have a business plan. I feel like everybody should have a business plan before they
Mhm.
just go ahead and invest in their digital presence. But you can't ignore the internet. Everybody's using
Yes.
it. So your business in some way, shape, or form has to be on Google. And I know I said Facebook and Instagram, but it can't only be there either because not everybody uses Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
My
And
husband has no
yeah.
social media
Yeah.
presence.
Well, and a lot of us love to play there, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have nieces and nephews. What's their age range?
So 10,
Mm.
12, and 22.
Alright, so let's go to the 22-year-old because my boys are a little bit older than your oldest niece or nephew, but
Okay.
their world is their phone, and they get
Yes.
everything from there. They can do stuff on a phone, editing, I mean, stuff like that, and I'm just amazed. But we as business owners, we've gotta recognize that
Oh,
because
yeah.
my generation and even yours to a point
Yeah.
may not be as invested in that, and these new kids, I mean, if you want them, and I was reading an article, about the election, and not
Mhm.
soapbox, not getting on here, but what I was reading an article about the kind of the different on why Trump won and all this stuff, and again, not getting a jump soapbox here, but just from a business standpoint, they knew that they needed to get to, younger voters and
Mhm.
they would go knock on doors the old school way, and this, hey, knocking on a door, hey, who you voting for today? All that good stuff, right? Like selling encyclopedias and vacuum cleaners back in the day
Yeah.
when people wore suits and showed up and did that. But they said without fail, the vast majority of the people answer the door with their phone in their hand.
Oh,
So
sure.
that's why they got on all these podcasts
Yep.
instead of going to the new, you get some of these podcasts with 13 million viewers and you watch the nightly news, they got 1.5 million. Simple, it's kind of an
Yeah.
easy decision on where to go. So with business owners trying to get, let's just say, what, 40 and under, 35 and under, what what kind of difference in the marketing that you've seen since you've been at TMS Digital that factors into getting to that younger audience?
And again, it just, again, every industry is different,
Yes.
but none of us are getting any younger, which
No.
means we do have to pay attention to the younger kids
Yes.
as much as it pains us.
Mhm. That's tomorrow's
uh,
customer, right? Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
like as annoying as it may be, we cannot ignore them. So, like, even my nieces being 10 and 12,
Mhm.
sure, they don't have a bank account of their own, but they're going to my sister she's older than me. I won't say her age.
29. We'll go
Yeah,
with that.
sure. Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
uh, and then she's the one who's spending her money,
Mhm.
so even if they're not marketing directly to my sister, they're marketing to her bank account
Mhm.
by marketing to her daughters.
It's like this new Wicked movie. They're
Yeah.
not talking to the parents. They know the parents will take the kids when the kids squawk enough about going to see Wicked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
everything is so, yeah. I'm like, we can't, it just can't be ignored because, yeah, as much as and again, like going on podcasts, that's why I don't say no to really any press. I'm like,
Yep.
hey, if I'm going to be on a podcast, like, so there's a local podcast here, and she asked, and I said, yeah, why not? And she's got a local base, but all it takes is one episode
Mhm.
for it to go. I'm not saying she'll ever be Joe Rogan style, but
Mhm.
at one point,
Yeah.
Gold Digger, um, that started with nothing.
Mhm.
And she's got over 5 million followers now, so it
Yep.
only takes the one episode to go viral.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yep.
so I'm not going to ignore those little milestones. I'm not going to ignore, you know, any of that type of
Yeah.
press because, again, I'm the next generation of
Mhm.
TMS Digital. My dad is, I guess he's part of the boomers.
Yeah.
And here I am, a senior millennial, and I have to pay attention
Ouch. Is that on
to.
your business card, senior millennial? Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Well, I used to say Gen Y because I hated the term millennial,
Yeah, as you should.
um, because we kept getting blamed for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So, but now here I am. I have to pay attention to what Gen Z is doing. And now I guess they're calling it alpha,
Yeah,
which really pisses me off
yeah.
because alpha is like really, it's alpha.
Yeah.
But why do they get alpha?
I can't keep up, yeah, so it's a letter with something, yeah, so yeah, alright, so let's go back to a point you brought up earlier, talking about your friend. The first step was to make sure let me see if I get this right. The first step you told her to do was to make sure all the ways people were gonna find you were in place. So that's one of your recommendations to the folks watching and listening is, so we need a Facebook page. Well, do we need a website first or a Facebook page?
I would say Facebook first.
Okay.
Google Business Profile is the
Yes.
first thing you should get started on, actually, because it takes, well,
You and we've chatted about this. Yes, it's a
yeah.
pain in the butt. Yes. Yep. Yep.
Because the Google Business Profile, in the perfect world, is very easy to set up and sometimes not so much. So, Google Business Profile first. Then you can work on your social media pages because those are going to be the easiest
Mm,
to have your friends and family share and then show up in different algorithms, etc. But having a website, getting that trust factor with Google can sometimes take
mm,
3 months, can sometimes upwards of a year,
yep,
again, industry specific. So if you have a brand new domain, you're not going to be on the first page overnight. Like brand new domain, brand new Google business profile. I mean, everything's brand new. You're an infant. And yeah. Um, so yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable getting her started right away when she had nothing. And I wouldn't feel comfortable with it, not just because she's one of my friends. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing
mhm.
that with anybody. Um, oh, and nice plug, December is National Write a Business Plan Month. So
Oh,
same.
right. And it doesn't have to be 16 pages, but it better have a good number of bullet points on what
Yeah.
you're doing, how you're doing it, and how you're going to measure it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do have a blog on TMS Digi's
There you
page.
go.
So yeah.
So, and that is tmsdigital.com?
TMSdigi.com.
Digi. Oh, because
Yes.
digital was taken.
It was. Yeah. But
So when did it get shortened from, was it Tar Heel Media Services?
Tar Heel Media Solutions.
Solution. Okay.
So Tar Heel Media Solutions, we shortened it to TMS Digital in actually on our birthday of 2020. So June 8th, 2020, we went from Tar Heel Media Solutions to TMS Digital
Okay.
because we had already dropped the last book for a couple of years at that point. And I had been using, yeah, we talked about that on the last
Yeah.
show as well,
Yeah.
where you're like, really? Um, I had been using the personalized hashtag TMS Digital for about 5 years at that point. Um, and since we were fully digital for several years at that point, I was like,
Yeah.
we should just do it, you know? And my dad goes, all right, we'll go on Secretary of State, figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And it took me like 2 minutes. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need your I need money.
Yeah. So before people get really freaked out about social media, let's kind of break that down a little bit for folks. It needs to be in place. You don't have to be one of those influencers or TikTokers that you're on. Hey, look at the meal I just ate. Hey, look at my car. It's not none of that.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a foundation so when people find you, because when you meet somebody, it's like, if somebody tells you, "Oh, new movie out," or "There's a new restaurant," a lot of people Google, Kirstyn's restaurant, and you
Yeah.
need to have something in place there for them to look at and go, "Oh, okay, this looks pretty good." So the first thing is the foundation, not necessarily using social media yet,
Mhm.
right?
So, funny you say this. You asked a question similar to this as far as what should every good website have?
Mhm.
And the first thing out of my mouth was contact information. Um, Same thing goes for a Facebook
Yeah.
page because there are several Facebook pages
Oh,
that zero contact
yep.
information. I'm like, okay.
I don't know
So,
how that I don't know how that
foundation
happens. Yeah.
should be your contact information, logo, and of course, cover photo. And so just, you know, fill out the branding aspect of it first and foremost. Um, if you don't have a logo, it's not a huge investment to get somebody local to create one for you. There's several people within BNI that can do
Mhm.
it.
Oh, yes, there are.
A not so shameless plug. Um, but yeah, I mean the foundation for a Facebook page, I mean, just make sure your name is
Mhm.
the same as it's listed everywhere else as
Yeah.
well. That's a huge pet peeve. Like ampersand versus and, um, making sure if if it's possessive, you know, the apostrophe, all that, just consistency for branding purposes.
Yeah, and that matters because I don't know if most of the business world, but a lot of the business world comes back to Google, and you
Mhm.
want to be so when somebody types in uh, Clayton Digital Marketing, and you've got tarheelmediasolutions.com, you've got tmsdigital.com, you've got maybe an address with a number 117-B versus
Mhm.
117B. And now Google's got you as five different companies and you can't get
Yes.
ranked up high. And then eventually they're going to find you and go, we're cutting you off because none of this is right. And they'll do that. But again, those consistencies for Google to keep finding you so you can keep moving up. So when you do Google Clayton digital marketer, guess who comes up? If not first, at least second or third.
Yes. You got it.
Oh, it's
And if your information is messy like that, there
yep.
is something called citation management. And I know this really great web design and SEO company that's based in Clayton that offers it.
But those things in this world today, folks, that matter. In the
It truly,
olden
truly
day,
does.
I needed to make sure if I'm selling encyclopedias, I have to hit all these neighborhoods.
Hmm.
And that's what Google does for you. Only if you show up with the wrong information or the wrong company, it's not hard, but it is so important to make sure your address looks the same way everywhere you write it. You can't put 123 Main Street pound sign 7 and then another
Yeah.
way put 123 Main Street Suite 7.
Yes.
It's those little things, folks. So if you've got any kind of a business that you're managing or part of, do Google yourself over and over again and see what comes up because that stuff's got to be consistent. Or
Hmm.
just call Kirstyn and her team because they'll get it for you. Because there are reports they can run for you that will show you very quickly. Oh my gosh! But that stuff does matter. So the website, um, one of my pet peeves with people is they brand themselves as local. And you go to their website and there's no mention of how local they are. I went to Garner High School. I went to Clayton High School. My grandfather started there's none of that. And I don't know why people don't buy into that.
The storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they want to play off of how important locality is
Mm.
for, well, the community. So they try and use those buzzwords and then they create a disconnect
Yep.
when you don't see the storytelling. And again, we did mention this on the last one where it's imperative to make a connection with your potential consumers, your potential client base. So we had somebody call in a couple months ago. And of course, we asked, how'd you find us? And she said, well, I just Googled web designers in, I think she said Johnston County, not necessarily Clayton. She goes, sure, y'all were the first ones, but I really like y'all's about page. She goes, I could actually see everybody. I read about the history of the company,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, thank you. That was my idea.
Yeah.
you know, because it truly does make a difference because somebody can say they're local and it's like, well, how local?
Yep.
Like, did you just move here? And so now you're local,
Yeah.
or you're just not, you're just not a franchise, or you're just not nationally owned. And that's what you're trying to do, because it makes a difference. Like, how connected to the community are you? Whereas,
Mhm.
here we are homegrown in Rocky Mount
Yeah.
since, now living in Clayton. But we're connected to the Clayton Chamber of Commerce. You'll find me at, I'll say 60%. And then, very active in BNI, very active in philanthropic endeavors,
Mhm.
it's just that's what local means to most people,
Yes.
but but yeah, storytelling is very important on not just a website, but really branding in general. Um,
I promise people
yeah,
that very few people these days want to call a 1-800 number and punch in their 16-digit code, which we don't remember anymore. They want to shop local, which BNI has taught me real quick.
yeah,
Shop local. There's certain people
yeah.
you should have their cell phone numbers. You just
Mhm,
should for your personal life or your business life.
mhm.
So, what point in time did BNI come into play, and when did you first hear of BNI?
So I had first heard of BNI, I want to say in 2017. I didn't visit my first BNI until 2018, and I didn't join until 2021. Um,
Glacier like speed there, Kirsten.
well, my seat was taken
Oh,
in every group that I visited.
gotcha.
And then, life happened. I was very heavy in the chamber and all sorts of other things. And then I'm going to plug Brian because I love him. Brian Sandals of
Mm-hmm.
Yancy and Consulting.
Yeah, and sand. Yep.
Um, yes, so of RD38, the Cleveland Connection, my previous chapter, he came to our office and he goes, because I had had an appointment with him several years prior about his website. And he goes, okay, it's finally time to update my site. And I was like, okay, cool. And he goes, well, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I don't know why. He said, well, why don't you come to my BNI? The seat's open, blah, blah, blah. And that was that. Like I was hooked, from going and my seat being open, being available. And yeah, I mean, once I was introduced to what networking was, it's like, I am born for this.
Yes, you are.
Like, okay. So I connect other people. I talk to people like that's just my nature in general. So now I have a term for it and okay, like I dig it.
And for people that aren't quite familiar with BNI yet, when we talk about seats, BNI is seat specific. So in Kirsten's chapter, she is the only digital marketer in that chapter. So people can build relationships with, there's one realtor, one insurance, one, PNC agent, all of that stuff. So that's another beauty of BNI is you're not one of nine. There are other groups for that, and they are wonderful. But it's a good opportunity to build relationships at BNI, which I'm with you. I became a fan of pretty quick. So so you guys were growing a good business, been around for a while. So how did BNI help sales wise or relationship wise?
I love this question because I actually recently quantified it since joining BNI. And yeah, so not a whole lot of people love cold calling. Like it's
Yeah.
not, yeah, their jam. So prior to BNI, 100% of my sales came from cold calling. And that was it. And as of, I want to say I ran the report last month, 45% of my book of business is BNI, and I am stoked about that number.
And so folks, we're looking at it. This is from one source. There's what, 25 members in your chapter, 26?
I think we're at 25 now. We
Okay,
just inducted several over the
cool.
past 6 weeks. Yeah. So
But
I
it,
think we're at
it's
25.
it's from one source. So when we look at where are we spending our time and money? Money we can make more of. We're not overly worried about that. Time we can't.
Yep.
So you go every Thursday at noon to Driftwood Cantina at Lafayette Village. Wow, that beats cold calling and that beats going to 42 other groups, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I should probably, can you run that report? And it's just like, that's BNI direct, you know, because
Yep.
of course I was doing the referrals given inside, outside, tier
Hmm.
2,
Yep.
which again, for those of you who aren't familiar with BNI, a tier 2, am I gonna explain it correctly? Of course, I'm probably not. But somebody, a referral within BNI refers me to somebody else
Yep.
outside of BNI, and then that person then refers me to somebody else without outside of BNI.
Yep.
I guess that's tier 3.
You got it.
But still, it's fantastic
Yep.
to see how it goes, and I'm like, "Alright, this is awesome."
And
So,
there were, let me guess that there were people in your both chapters you've been in, that
yes.
were
Yeah.
happy to meet you because they were looking for someone like you to help them grow their business.
Yeah, and, it's so funny. My favorite story is actually, I call him, Floor Todd because we had 2 Todds at the Cleveland Connection for a while, but, Todd Abrams, and, he the first time I approached him, and I didn't really approach him about a website. It like, I was talking about Brian's, and he had said, "You know, I don't think I'll ever need one of those, you know, blah, blah, blah," and I was like, "No, no, just get off my back, you know, I'm not trying to hard sell you," you know? And he said, it was like 2 years later, he comes up to me and says, "I think it's time I get a website." And I said, "What time is it? What day is it? Everybody, hell just froze over." And I go, "Are you sure? Do you have a temperature? Like, are you running a fever?" And it's like, "No, just realized that a lot of my BNI referrals are contacting me to see if I have a website. Social media was working a while, but not so much anymore. So, yeah, I think I need that website thing." And I was like, "Yeah, I think you know, so I always use that as my favorite BNI story because, you know, he came up to me and realized that what I had been saying during my feature presentations about referrals still wanting to see a website
Yep.
wasn't blowing smoke.
Yeah. And let me clear something up for folks and back me up on this. Your Facebook page is not a website. So when
That is
you, I've seen this before in BNI, there's a bunch of information we fill out. So online people can understand what we do and have a better understanding on why they need to call us. And one of those is it's a box clearly says website. And I've seen people put their Facebook page, their business Facebook page in there, and it's like no, no, and no. People make it easy for people to find you. Not that Facebook pages aren't professional, but make sure your website is good and clean. It doesn't have to be 98 pages, but good and clean. Be easy to be found. Don't make it hard for us to do business with you.
yes.
Mm. The things we
Thank
see,
you.
the things we see. So BNI, now that what got you in then to be a consulting director?
So I had kind of you actually, but I'll blame it on you.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So I was known for visiting other chapters already. Like I frequented so many um, that I would call them by their number
Hmm.
rather than their name because I could just keep that together more. And Leora reached out to me and asked if I would be a consulting director for the Smithfield strategy, which I guess you were prior,
Hmm.
and I did not know that until being asked. And then she gave me, I was like, well, I don't really know what that means. Give me the information on it. And she gave me the information on it. And I said, so everything that I'm already doing.
Yep.
I go, I think I can handle that. And so, yeah, that's how I became a consulting director.
And it's a lot of fun because we get to help people and we help them a lot in context of BNI. how to,
Yes.
elevator pitch, 10-minute presentation, things like that. So, uh, I want to before we go here, Kirsten, I want to chat, and I know you can't sum it up in 4, 5, or 6 minutes, but you mentioned 3 or 4 times the word brand or branding.
Yes.
Explain to folks how to is there a way to find out what their brand is, or how do you create that, or kind of what they need to know about that?
So that's something that, so like with us, it took a while to find our brand. And I think that's it with several companies, you know, because all of a sudden, me being the one that was out there doing all the networking and the weekly presentations, or at the chamber it would be the elevator pitches, whatever the places what they call it. And I realized that our brand was we are the homegrown web design and SEO company. We are the hyper local, like, and I am the face of it. I went over that the last go round where it just happened. But you want to figure out where you fit in as a business in your community. And that's what I mean by brand. So it's not just I'm a roofer in Raleigh that focuses on shingles. It's what is your mission statement as well? And what do you want to accomplish as a company, not just monetarily, but what do you want to be known for?
Yep. And
Make
when
sense?
we talk about branding, uh, going back to our original conversation about Google, is everything needs to be consistent. You have
Yes.
a logo, you have
Yes.
a tagline, you have this. So everywhere, whether it's on Facebook, you're handing out flyers, your mailers, whatever it is, it's the consistent look. Is that probably the best way to say that?
Yeah. So I when I tell people, I'm just like, think of the adage consistency is key.
Mhm.
You know, people, everybody I speak to knows that saying. So it's as simple as that. Consistency is key. Um, as it holds true in life, it definitely holds true on Google. So Google wants to see the same thing. It's it's very boring. There's nothing sexy about it. Uh, you know, just make sure that wherever your name is placed, your service area is the same, your phone number is the same, the category is the same, your website's the same across the board. And
Yeah,
that's just
and it matters
be
because
boring
yep. Oh, yeah.
online.
Yeah, and another one of my favorites, I'm sure you've talked people out of this, it's the, car door magnets that on a computer, they look awesome. There's 42 different colors and 12 font styles, and you put it on the side of a car and nobody can read it. It's like,
I
you
saw
pull
one
right
on
up
the way to
next
work
I
today.
pull up next to you at a light, I'm looking like, I can't even read it from here. So,
Yeah.
boring is the best way to do stuff on images like that. I gotta be able to read it, otherwise, I need a residential cleaner, but I can't read your name, or, I'm not calling you because I can't read your name, so,
Yeah, yeah. I
uh,
was,
I feel for people. I wanna stop them, but it looks great on a computer, it looks cool. No, it's gotta be
mhm,
functional. You want
mhm,
people to go, "Oh, I've seen that logo before, I like that."
yeah.
And then they'll
Well, and the thing between the magnets and doing the, little bit of screen, I'm not, familiar with what it's called on the back windshield.
yeah.
It's not that huge of a difference in
No,
price.
no.
You can ask, am I allowed to plug her from
Oh, yeah,
RD19?
absolutely.
Yeah. Ask Wendy Zaccanini
Yep,
of, Zucchini Inc.
yep.
19. She'll be the first one to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the window tinting, yeah, where they put the back, but
Yeah.
again, the consistency matters, and we gotta
Mhm.
be able to read your number. It's gonna look beau folks, I promise you, you're gonna design this on your computer, and it's readable. From right
Yeah.
here to right here, it's very
Yeah.
readable, but going
Yeah,
down
my
the
17
road
inch will be like,
yeah,
"Oh."
yeah, look at me, I'm the greatest designer ever. And on the road, nobody ever calls me. "Oh, they can't read your number on the" yeah, so it's just but
Yeah.
again, sometimes you need to be boring with getting information out so people can actually
Mhm.
read it. Don't make it difficult for us to do business with you because
Mhm.
we can't read your name and number, but your logo looks cool. I don't know I didn't know there were that many colors in the spectrum, but it looks really
Yeah.
cool, so all right, so for the folks that have been listening and watching, what's give us 2 things they probably should be working on if they're in that new stage or beginner stage, starter stage of a business.
Well, don't forget, December is National Write a Business Plan Month.
There you go.
So get a business plan ready. um, but I would set your goals
Mhm.
6 month, 1 year, 5 year. That's where a lot of people make mistakes, is just jumping straight into it, even if they have years of experience in that industry. Being in the industry and being a business owner
Yeah,
of the industry are two completely different things.
good point.
And then also making sure that you have your network, your tribe, your support group, whatever you want to call it, because those are going to be, although that's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to be business oriented. Um, when you get in the weeds as a business owner, you need to make sure that you've got the people that you can reach out to for, like, as a sounding board. Like I said at the top of this, when I was talking about my dad, who's I've always gone to for
Mhm.
anything, he would definitely be one of them. I know that Anthony from RD18
Oh,
would be
yeah.
another. Nikki from RD38, she would be another one.
Yeah.
Beasley from RD25, Johnny Beasley.
Mhm.
Like, they're my people whenever I have something, whether it's work related, personal,
Yep.
BNI related. Like, those are my core people that I'm like, okay, mentor coordinator question, I'll ask Mike, Leora, or Beasley,
Yeah.
life question, I'll ask my dad or Nikki, and so just make sure
Yeah.
that you have your support group
Yeah.
because it's not going to be easy. And
No.
even if the first few months are
Yeah.
easy, cool, good for you. But at some point, you're going to need them.
Yeah, starting small business ownership is not for the faint of heart. And if
No.
you will take all the examples Kirsten just gave you of the people you need, just think of them as your new board of directors.
Yeah.
I call so and so for this. I
Yep.
call this person for that, things like that. But on the goals, it's important. It's great to say, oh, I want to make $100,000 by December 2025. Great.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's $8,700 a month. That's $2,200 a week. That's
Mhm.
400 plus a day. And your
Yeah.
average client's $28. Yeah, so work it backwards from the 100 sounds great. We'd all everybody a lot of people love to make 100,000 bucks. But work it backwards. How many clients do I need in a day? What's the average price of my client? How many of those do I need a day? Get to this number for the week, then the month, then the year. Work it backwards, folks, because 100, if you sit there, I'm gonna start today. I want to make $100,000 in a year, and you don't make a penny for 3 weeks. Oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
already behind. No, not
Yeah.
necessarily, but you need to budget stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we've been putting Kirsten's number up here on the screen. Please give her a call. SEO, website, marketing, anything like that. They've helped many people for many years in the area. So we appreciate you being on the show with us again today, Kirsten. And I know you have great Christmas plans and New Year's plans that you'll fill me in on, but I know it'll be something fun wherever you go.
Yes.
So,
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm excited. Yeah.
M my pleasure, and I have a branding question, I'm gonna reach out to you in the next couple days and fill you in on what I got going on and see if you can give me a blueprint on kinda which way to head, stuff like that. So again, folks, have your people. Have your
Yeah.
people that you know you'll answer their questions, so you know they'll answer yours. So anyways, great having you on the show, Kirsten, and we'll see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.